Hey guys, hi. Hey guys, what's up? Good morning. Hey Priyank, good morning. Hey Sharmishta, good morning. Please like the video till we start. We'll start in another probably 5 minutes or 2-3 minutes, right? Hey, hi, good morning. Hey Sahil, good morning. Very cool, very cool. Hey Dipesh. Hey Sachin. Very cool, very cool. Awesome, awesome. Please like the video till then. We'll wait for another 2-3 more minutes and then we'll start. Yep. कैसा चल रहा है guys? How is the Sunday morning? I do lives on Sunday. मुझे खुद भी सही नहीं लगता लेकिन क्या करें यार, टाइम के हिसाब से यही करना पड़ता है. That's the best I can do. But you guys can also recommend me times of lives which will be like working for you और हम उसके आसपास कुछ कर सकते हैं. Hey Dipesh, good morning. Good morning. मतलब I wanted a genuine recommendation from you guys that does Sunday work for you or we can do it some other day. Yeah. नो प्रॉब्लम्स ऋतिक, नो प्रॉब्लम्स. इससे क्या बड़ी बात होता है. मतलब लाइक मैंने अपनी लाइफ में सबसे ज्यादा सीखा ही फेलियर से, राइट? सो ऑल ऑफ यू गाइज एक्चुअली वुड नॉट नो, बट आई हैव मिजरेबली फेल्ड इन माय लाइफ. मतलब लाइक so many times, like it's not even what, how can I tell you, like probably my first year when I wanted to be an APM, right, I had applied to like 100 odd companies and probably got calls from 3 or 4, but it's just one place where you have to make the best of, that's all, in the right culture with the right people where you learn every day. That is the only thing that you require. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. Trust me, if your learning per minute is far more higher than your dollars per minute, you're going to make a lot of sense. You're going to do a lot of things in your life, right? So never matlab theek hai yaar, failure is just feedback. It's as simple as that. There's nothing else. So Ritik, I'm 100% sure tu machayega. 100%. So don't you worry about it, right? Awesome. So guys, I was just quickly asking. So today we will start off with na a basic AMA. मैंने जो structure बताया था. 1 week we will do sessions. 1 week we will do AMAs, right? But again, I'm calling this out very, very clearly to all of you guys that I will not repeat questions which are there in previous lectures, or I will try to answer all your questions, but if they are very, very relevant, right? I don't want to ask, like Nikhil has asked, why MBA is the only way to become PM. Nikhil, it's not needed, right? If you have gone through my old lectures or if you're joining for the first time, it's not needed. That's something that I have kind of spoken about all the time, right? So the reason that MBA schools typically get PMs across is just one reason, right? That you do a lot of case studies and retrospectively you become a great PM, you become a better thinker, right? There's nothing like that. Yeah, there are reasons that why you should do an MBA. If you want to build your brand, if you want to build some sort of connections and all of those things, but fundamentally, right, there is nothing that an MBA would teach you which any other first principle thinking will not, right? Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing that I want to ask you is, okay, so how did you deal with doing assignments and assignments after? Yeah, I think Dipesh, the answer to that question. So Dipesh has asked this question: how do you deal with doing assignments and and still getting rejected? So I think the fundamental thought process here. I'm going one by one, right? So the fundamental thought process here is that you have to learn from each assignment. It's not just about you do an assignment, you get a rejection mail, and then post that, then you do another assignment. यार जब तक तुम्हें फीडबैक नहीं मिलेगा, जब तक तुम्हें ये नहीं पता कि क्या हो रहा है, राइट? सो आई नो out of 10 companies, maybe 3 or 4 companies will give you feedback, which is correct, right? But you have to consistently ask them that, okay, I might not be a right fit, but tell me where I failed. Where is the gap? Was the gap in the solution? Were the gap in the metrics? Was the gap in the prioritization of the problem? Was the gap in I didn't understand the industry well? And once you get that gap, you consistently try to keep that in mind in your next assignment, and keep it in your heart. In the next assignment, this is not something that I am going to repeat, right? So if you consistently do that, I know that there is a process, like out of 100 people, 100, maybe you do 20 assignments. Out of that, only 5 companies or 4 companies eventually respond back if you sincerely follow up, right? If you just see that, oh, I got a rejection mail and there is nothing around it, then what's the point, right? So the only thing that I say is, assignment doing is one part, but getting the feedback of assignment is another part, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be just with a company. It can, you can send the same assignment to any product manager on LinkedIn. You guys are not really leveraging LinkedIn, honestly, right? यार, हर एक चीज एक funnel होती है. Everything is a success rate. Not everyone is going to respond to you on LinkedIn, but there are people who will. It's just your persistence. I've literally seen people who try, and eventually get in. Like one of my very good friends who was there in my cohort, right? She started off by failing in miserably in so many interviews, but she consistently improved. She used to talk to me. She used to send me ki yaar ki bhaiya mera ye reh gaya, ya Shravan, this is the problem that I'm facing. And she used to do that not with me, with a lot of people, right? And she used to consistently leverage the power of a social platform, because there are a lot of people who want to give back. It's not just कि श्रवण कर रहा है, बहुत लोग कर रहे हैं, ऐसी बात नहीं है, right? So the point that I'm trying to consistently make is, it's not just doing an assignment, but getting the feedback of assignment is equally important. So then you consistently do it, and then you will see there is an improvement, and it will happen. It might not happen in 3 interviews, it might not happen in 4 interviews. Not that मैं तुम्हें ये थोड़ी ना बोल रहा हूँ कि यार ये करके जाओगे तो तुम पहला ही इंटरव्यू निकाल लोगे. मैंने कभी ऐसा नहीं बोला. What I'm trying to put across is, if you become a fundamental thinker, sooner or later, this is how your thinking is going to become. And if your thinking becomes like that, there is nothing that will stop you from becoming a better problem solver. That's all, right? And it is a journey everybody has to independently take, right? I hope I answered the question, right? Okay, so the next part is, okay, how much knowledge of tools like mixed panel is required? See, honest mode, it is required, right? Because I'll give you a very fundamental context. Amod has asked this question: how much knowledge of tools like mixed panel is required? First of all, what is mixed panel, right? So there are 2 kinds of analytics which happen in product or in general for any business, right? That is something called web analytics, and something is called product analytics, right? So web analytics is something that fundamentally tells you traffic aa kahan se raha hai. Like, you are a person, you come from LinkedIn to YouTube, functionally to attend the live, right? So that web analytics tool would be able to tell me that 50% of your audience is coming from LinkedIn, right? What's the demographic of that audience? What's the age range of that audience? What's the gender of that audience? Some level of understanding, right? But this is outside the product. It gives you some understanding of the quality of traffic which is coming, but it is staying outside the product, right? Then there are tools which are product analytics tools, which basically tell you, okay, if somebody has come on your product, is he moving from one page to another page? What is the drop off from one click to another click, right? So all of those things are typically told to you by product analytics tools. And there are product analytics tools like CleverTap, like MoEngage, like WebEngage, like Mixpanel, like Amplitude. All of these tools are there. So ideally, if you have the concept of funnels, Amod, right? If you truly want to understand the concept of funnels, it is good to have the knowledge of Mixpanel, and it is easy, right? You can just go on their website. The documentation is very simple. Don't read the developer documentation, just read the user documentation. You will functionally be able to understand how do you define a funnel, what are the things that you look at, all of those things together. And it also helps you set up marketing automation, which basically means if I know a certain funnel is not performing, like मुझे पता है कि अमोद booking page से selection page पे नहीं जा रहा booking.com पे, तो I can send him a notification if it's not happening in 1 minute. So it is required, but it's not like a fundamental skill set. You can learn it on the job also. It's a good thing if you know it, because this is a skill that probably companies would expect a PM to know, right? But that doesn't mean that if you understand Mixpanel, you'll automatically become a great PM. Doesn't work like that, right? So ideally, I would say it's good to have, बिल्कुल करो, बिल्कुल सीखनी चाहिए, इट्स अ वेरी गुड थिंग, बट अंडरस्टैंड द बेसिक्स ऑफ इट. Awesome, right? But in LinkedIn, it's written that there should be top tools. Nikhil, again, same question I have answered multiple times. यार, दुनिया funnel की तरह चलती है यार. 90% of the people who are eventually going to uh, hire or shortlist people are going to do it on the basis of a bias. But that doesn't mean it will not happen. यार फाइट मारनी पड़ती है इसके लिए. तुम्हारे लिए मैं इतनी फाइट मारता हूं, मैं रोज पोस्ट लिखता हूं, मैं कुछ ना कुछ करता रहता हूं. मेरे को क्या फाइट है, किस चीज की लोड़ है लाइफ में मुझे? मतलब मुझे मुझे बताओ, व्हाई डू आई डू दिस? आई डू दिस बिकॉज आई जेन्युइनली वांट टू हेल्प यू. एंड अगर मैं इतनी फाइट हिट करना चाहता हूं, तो तुम्हें तो फाइट मारनी पड़ेगी यार. इट्स ओके टू फेल 10 टाइम्स, इट्स फाइन. प्लीज नॉर्मलाइज दिस फैक्ट कि फेलिंग इज नॉट, डज इट हैज नथिंग टू डू विद योर कैरेक्टर और योर कॉन्फिडेंस. भाई मैं तुम्हें बता रहा हूं ना कि तुम लास्ट के 1 साल, you are just looking at last 1 year of my journey and you're saying that somebody came up and etc and whatever. For the first 7 years of my life, for 6 years of my life, I've failed so many times, but I'm glad that I did. Right? Right? यार अजिंक्य से I think time लगता है. I genuinely recommend because a lot of you people eventually reach out to me. मेरे पास क्या चैलेंज रहता है, मैं आज तुम्हें फंडामेंटल स्ट्रैटेजी सबको बताता हूँ. देखो, LinkedIn पे खाली श्रवण ही एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता. There are other people. I would try to respond as much as possible, but you should leverage that platform more intensively. The way that I'm trying to put across is, like, if you do a post, tag some good product managers that you know, they will give you some feedback. If somebody gives you a feedback, तुम्हें लगता है कि यार तुमने किसी अच्छे PM को tag किया and he has responded back with a comment, drop him a comment with humility. Most of the comments, most of the DMs that I receive is, भैया भैया I saw your profile, can you be my mentor? ऐसा होता है क्या? Like, do you think somebody is free like that? This doesn't show humility. तुम्हें रीच करने का तरीका होना चाहिए. मतलब यू गो, यू टेल हिम, भैया थैंक यू वेरी मच, मैंने आपकी प्रोफाइल देखी, आई सी दैट यू हैव कम फ्रॉम अ सर्टेन बैकग्राउंड, आई रियली रिस्पेक्ट योर टाइम, विल इट बी पॉसिबल फॉर इन द अपकमिंग डेज टू गिव मी 15 minutes or 30 minutes of your time? Then the person feels gratitude in his heart, कि यार कि his or her heart, कि हाँ यार ये बंदा. 90% of the DMs मुझे मिलता है, मैं इग्नोर करता हूँ उनको. क्यों क्यों करूं यार? मैं दिन के 40 DM मुझे मिल रहे हैं, मैं क्यों किसी को रिस्पॉन्ड करूं? मैं रिस्पॉन्ड उसी को करूंगा ना जो मुझे लगता है कि जिसमें वो शिद्दत है, who has that thing in his heart that he truly wants to work hard, and it shows in your messages. You think that written word doesn't show a lot about you? Written word shows a lot about you. So you have to fundamentally understand that you have to ask people with humility, right? कि ये प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, कैन यू गिव मी 30 minutes of your time? एंड probably I won't, अगर शायद मैं नहीं कर पा रहा, I will try my level best to do it, but अगर मैं नहीं कर पा रहा, कोई और करेगा. So you have to believe that there is more good in the world than bad. यार अजिंक्य, 9 इतने सारे tier 3 कॉलेज, पहली चीज तो यार बिट्स IIT MBA तो मैं बिलीव ही नहीं करता इस चीज को, ये मैं इस थॉट प्रोसेस में ही बिलीव नहीं करता. बट लेट्स अज्यूम आई बिलीव व्हाट यू से, राइट? There are so many people in the last 1 year who've gotten from tier 3 colleges and moved to great places because of the very same reason that they tried things with humility. There are so many people, right? So I would just recommend, don't lose heart, start working more and more apart, and it will happen. It's going to happen, right? ऐसा नहीं है कि ये नहीं होगा, तुम अपने ऊपर यकीन करना शुरू करो, बट हाँ थोड़ी प्रोसेस को इंप्रूव करो. That's all. Okay, so Sharmishta, I'm not able to answer instantly with how do you develop that and when should I say that. Okay, so Sharmishta, I think a very relevant question, that when should I be able to answer. So I think that only happens with practice, right? So I want to understand that at any point of time, right? एक मिनट यार, शर्मिष्ठा ने कुछ लिखा है, I will go back again. Yeah, so I would say that you have to ask yourself, how many case studies have I truly done, right? If you have done like 20-25 case studies, let's assume you are working in a market which is probably sexual wellness market, for example, right? And you're doing consistently case studies around it. Sooner or later, like, it will happen if you do 2, 3, 4. Let's assume a very simple example to you. Okay, if let's assume you like cooking, right? And in say that in chai I want to put milk, I want to put this salt, will you allow me to put that? Give me a yes or no. If today I say that in chai want to effectively put probably salt, right? Will you put it? Will it not be instantaneous to you? I'm asking a question that Sharmishta has asked, that I'm not able to give across instant solutions, and at what point should I feel my preparation is complete. I'm saying sooner or later. For example, you make a cup of tea for yourself. After making 3-4 times, somebody comes and says that let's put salt in the cup of tea instead of sugar. Will you align? Give me a yes or no. Yeah. So Sharmishta is saying no. So why did you say so? Because the very same reason. Because you practice so much that you know the tea is not made like that. It is the same example. It is exactly right. So that is why I'm saying, if you consistently practice, if you keep doing it again and again, sooner or later, new response, new get feedback, it will happen that at some point of time you will remove certain biases from your head. ये तो काम नहीं करता, ये तो काम नहीं करता, ये तो काम नहीं करता. This is what will work across, right? So I think it is dependent on practice. What I will also recommend is probably leverage the fact that if you have some sort of assignments that you've done, put it on LinkedIn and try to put across and do some solutions around it. And मेरे को भी अगर, if possible, send me your portfolio. I will go through it once and give you some feedback on top of it. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing that I see is okay. Thanks in advance. You're dealing with bipolar. If anyone is dealing with bipolar disorder, would it be advisable for him? Man, some question you have asked, right? First of all, guys, bipolar disorder is a very bad thing. It's a mood based disorder in which your mood can shift very rapidly, right? So just to tell you, if you're dealing with it, man, please go to a psychologist, take necessary precautions, because I've seen people with bipolar disorders. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So see, anybody can become anything in your life, but I would first wish that you get well, right? Or whoever the person is who is dealing with it, he or she gets well, because this is something that will duly affect things in his life, right? So the question is not, it's not really important for him to become a PM. पहले खुद को ठीक करे, उसके बाद कुछ भी बने लाइफ में. I've seen people, I have been, unfortunately, I have been privy to the fact that somebody having bipolar, how bad that is, I know, right? So all my love to that person, all my grace to that person. And Shantanu, if you know me on LinkedIn, do reach out to me. मैं किसी को जानता भी हूँ, मैं कुछ psychologists को who can effectively help and get you or that particular person out of it. Awesome. See, Tanuj is a very good example. Okay, sure. So every Sunday morning, no work today. Got it. In the last link, we looked at an example of Swiggy. You mentioned your person that you don't. How would you go about improving it, right? See, Sahil. So I think Sahil has asked this question in the last lecture, Design Thinking. We looked at an example of Swiggy, and you mentioned that personal opinion that you did not like the UX. How would you go about improving it? I think the same thing, right? You fundamentally start off, what is your value prop, right? So if you want to functionally understand that a person, how does he makes decisions, right, about buying food? Is it really about time? Is it really about convenience? Is it really about all of those? Then you structure across that, what are the core 3-4 use cases which eventually put across, and then you try to design an interface on top of it. You don't just put new real estates primarily and just put across there and say that I put one more real estate, so it will add one more revenue channel. So it is a larger thing that you have to think about. You might have to go to the audience of Swiggy. What are their core top use cases? How do I improve the discovery of the top use cases? Because there might be very well possible that you improve the discovery of a use case which is far more relevant, is going to give you far more return in terms of revenue than in terms of functionally putting just a cluttered real estate on top of it, right? So I think one of the big problems that most of these companies are fundamentally facing is, I'll tell you why their first page is so cluttered. The reason is they have realized that food delivery is not a very profitable business unless it is monopolistic. So it becomes very hard for them to functionally make profits in that particular segment. So what will they do? A company which has a sizable revenue base yet not making profits, what will that company do? That's the question. The question is, they start ancillary business lines like grocery, like Instamart, like genie, right? Because they fundamentally realize that those business lines can add not only to the top of the funnel or the revenue cap, but also to the profitability coefficient, right? And unfortunately, since they have such a large base, right, अब वो नया ऐप तो शुरू नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि if they start doing the new app, they functionally have to build traffic, build a new platform. So they try to put those things in the same real estate. It's not like Swiggy PMs would have not realized it, but they have no choice. When your app is downloaded 100 million times, you cannot start a new app for Instamart. It will take a lot of time for them to scale that and a lot of effort, right? So initially, even if they have something that like that in their mind, they would eventually first make a very, very steady transition from it, right? So in an ideal case scenario, if the business is profitable, right, in that scenario, you will see business interfaces very less cluttered if it's a product led business. If it's a myriad of businesses, right, and somehow you're not making profits, then you give UX little priority for in comparison to the growth of the business. I hope, Sahil, I answered your question. Yeah. Okay, how should I prepare for main teaser or guesstimates? सिंपल है यार, कंसल्टिंग की बहुत किताबें हैं, ऋतिक मिल जाएगा. मतलब इट शुड बी इजी. देयर इज अ वेरी नाइस बुक, आई थिंक डिकोड एंड कॉन्कर, और ये सब देख लो, आइडिया लग जाएगा तुम्हें. ओके, सो okay, so Tanuj, screen, give me a second, I will add to screen. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so how do you leave, so Tanuj has asked this question: how do you leave the bias for a feature you have in your mind as a PM outside the room before talking to users to identify pain points? I think there are 3-4 points, right? Whenever you do feedback interviews, right, the first thing that you have to functionally understand is you have to ask open-ended questions, never ask closed questions, right? Like if you have a payment feature, right, and you see that somebody has clicked on buy now button, right, you don't ask it like this, that, oh, you have clicked on a buy now button, did you want to buy something? So you are putting words in the person's mouth, right? You don't have to do that, right? Instead, you can ask an open-ended question like, oh, I see you clicked this button, why did you do that, right? So always focus on the fact that it's an open-ended question. The second thing that you have to functionally understand in this scenario is when you do some sort of user research is that you don't have to help the user. This is the only place where you don't help the user. Help a user, like if a user is not able to complete a flow, user interview is the only time when you will allow him to do whatever he wants, and instead not tell him that, okay, this is where you have to click, this where you should click, tell him or her, right? So just look at his or her natural behavior in the user interview and see that whether the person is able to do what I intend him to do, right? So that is something that, and third, focus a lot more on needs, right? Whatever solution he gives, it's in the solution space, he or she gives in the solution, you don't have to consider that. You have to understand what is the fundamental problem, keep asking those questions. So ask open-ended questions, right? Avoid the pain hypothesis that I will help you. 90% PM in user interview, sir, ye kar do, ये करना चाहिए. No, let the person do whatever he or she intends to do, right? So that is as simple as that. So I think that will give you a lot of sense of the intrinsic and extrinsic motivations around it, and you will be effectively be able to figure out, yeah, the pain point is this, whether my feature truly solves this, that stays in the solution space, right? Solution space comes later, right? So functionally keep it, and I think there are a lot of great books on user research. I will probably share it across on LinkedIn at some point. Tanuj, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and I will share some good books on user research, and you will have an understanding that how do you remove bias, right? Okay, so Sandeep has asked, I have 18 years of engineering working as a senior engineer. When I apply for PM related, nobody shortlists my resume. How can I move into PM after having technical experience, right? See, Sandeep, the point is that it's not just about you being an engineering manager. So Sandeep has functionally asked this question. I have 18 years of experience working as a senior engineering manager. When I apply for PM related job, nobody shortlists my resume. How can I move into PM related job after having technical experience? See, I don't understand. पहले तो मेरे को आपके resume नहीं, what you're putting in your resume, but let me give you a brief outline. What must be happening? Like that's a hypothesis. It might be right, it might be wrong, right? The simple funda is that if you are far more, as much I've seen with engineers are very task focused, task or technical expertise focused. So you functionally put across that this particular feature improved the latency by this much or that much. See, you talk about a lot about execution. That is what I've seen from engineers resume, a lot about execution. But you don't talk a lot about user centric things, like if you built a technology, what value did it add to that particular business or that particular user, right? It has to functionally come out that you managed a team. If you have 18 years of experience, I'm pretty sure you have a large team, right? How did you balance out a release? How did you scale that team, right? You have to talk about that. So you have to talk about the fundamental value props a product manager brings on the table, right? Like building a team, building a thinking mindset, giving value in terms of KPIs, right? That basically, if I built this technology, I built an API, it improved the booking conversion on a particular website by 10% or 15%. So somebody should be able to realize, because a PM is brought in a company, he is like the cornerstone of the vision of the company or vision of the product. And one of the core levers of any product is to make money or is to get users, right? So how do you tie it to the fundamental user value? And your resume should be reflective of that. You don't have to fundamentally talk. Also, you can talk about some independent projects. I'm sure in the last 18 years you must have done some independent projects which you might have realized from a technology point of view, and you might have scaled them, right? So why don't you put that across? That shows initiative, that you are a person who is a go-getter, right? So the point is, there is a functional specification on in which I've talked about how do you build your resume as a PM, right? And the last thing that you can also fundamentally do is put something that is something, make a, like a 1 minute video of why you think you should be a suitable guy in leading a business. Now the point is, if you've led a technology which had like 200 engineers or 100 engineers, or for example, you led a technology in which you scaled a product from 0 users to 1 million users, you can get a job as a senior PM. It should not be a big deal. Or even a group PM, it should not be. But it really depends on your thinking first. Are you thinking from a product first approach, right? Are you thinking that a particular product should have value proposition for the end user and not necessarily only for the tech, right? So if your resume is reflective of the core value that any business or product had for the end user, and it is quantifiable, right? Second thing, if you really want to become someone who primarily wants to become a senior PM, because as you move from a PM to a senior PM, you move from an IC role to a management role. And since you are a senior EM, I'm 100% sure you must be managing a team, right? So how do you effectively manage a team? How do you from 0 to 50? Can you do that, right? So that is something that you functionally have to talk about, right? And also you have to talk about things, move away from these things that by 2 times I did. So if your focus is on the technologies and simultaneously the kind of technical efficiency that you've brought into the system or managed a front end team or a back end team, people are not going to give you a chance, because PMs are not measured on that. They are measured on the impact they create. So if please send across your resume probably on LinkedIn to me, and I will just go through it and probably give you some pointers around it. But I think this is a general structure, and there's a video on the channel which you can refer to, in which I give a brief outline of how people should go out, and it is generically applicable. It's not just applicable to freshers or 2 years or 3 years. It is to people as high as 50 years of experience. It doesn't matter. It's the same structure, right? Awesome, right? Okay. So I recently got Deepesh. I will answer your question. Let me just answer. I recently got an offer for a senior project, and it's not a great offer in terms of the company. But I left already my current org. Should I keep waiting or try or take this one? See, Manish, today I am going to explain something to you guys. If you have any time in your early career, right, if you want to take an offer, always optimize for people and learning first. If Manish, you truly think that the people around you or the quality of peers around you is really good, they're smart people, right, then money will not be a consideration. I started my second job in Blackbuck. In second job, I had an offer which was like 60% less than another offer from another company from some portion of India, right? But I consciously chose Blackbuck because they had a very good circle of very good PMs from KGP. They have the very interesting circle, right? Where I learned every day. I learned product analytics, I learned design, I learned multiple. And today, whatever little I've been able to do is because of the fact that I always chose people over money. always try to look for where you can effect, where people. So there's a very famous quote by General Eisenhower, very famous, that smart people are typically in company of people smarter than them. As simple as that. If you feel that your hiring manager is very open, very good at heart, he or she is able to tell you the exact vision of the company, and I always recommend, whenever you get an offer, now ask hard questions, ask difficult questions. Why do you think that a product led approach would work? What is the culture of the company? What's your attrition rate? Right? Then where do you think my role will add value? Right? How do you think the product will scale? Ask very hard questions. If your interviewer or your hiring manager is not answering them correctly, then it's already a red flag. तब तो तुम्हें वैसे ही नहीं जाना चाहिए. But अगर तुम्हें लगता है कि if your hiring manager is putting effort, his heart and soul in effectively telling you that why it makes sense, why it should make sense, right? Even if they give you 2 lakh less night, it's not going to matter in the long run. So we all of us people try to optimize things in the short run, right? But the effect of compounding happens in a very hockey stick way, right? For the first 5 years of my life, nobody knew me, right? मैंने अपना काम करते रहा, but because I learned so much, right? That's why I could write so much. लिखने के लिए आना भी तो चाहिए. एक सिंपल सी बात है. अगर मैं आज तुम्हें पढ़ा रहा हूं and you guys are sitting here and listening to me, there's a certain belief that he knows what he's talking about. But why did that actually happen? That happened because I put effort for the first 5 years and didn't optimize for salary. I'm not saying if you get a great offer, you should refuse it. But in comparison to the early years in your life, I would say rather all your life, you should always optimize for talent. So there is a very, very good statement that somebody told me long back when I was in 8th class. You're as good as your peer group. And imagine that you're joining a company and you're spending 8 hours of your day with the same person. If you don't admire or you feel that I will learn from this person, you're anyway going to be miserable. So optimize for that. So if you feel the company is something that you feel you will be comfortable with, even if it's a lower offer, take it. Not a problem, right? If you feel that I didn't enjoy the culture or the progress or the kind of responses that I got across, even if it's an offer, then wait, don't go, because it's going to make you more depressed than ever, right? Okay. So, Deepesh, what's the sad truth about product management? The sad truth about product management is that people think product management is about building features. That's the sad truth about product management. That's the truth. It's not about building features. It's about building happiness in people's lives. How do you make someone happy by building something which truly makes it enjoyable, right? So the sad truth about product management is it's just about design, the same definition that you hear about. It's an intersection of design, tech, and business. That's a sad truth. It's about building system layers which scale with time. It's about understanding the needs of the users very empathetically and becoming a better person in general. It's not about building features. If somebody tells you that product management is about you are the CEO of the product, I think they misunderstand the role of a CEO then. Yeah. Okay. For such a large organizations like Byju's, okay. Got it. Next is Sharma. Okay. Just a second. I am going to answer. This is done. This is done. Okay, Tanuj. How do you maintain the balance in different teams of the product? Trade-offs, why it regress? Okay. So Tanuj has asked a question. For a large organization like Byju's, when there is such a huge product portfolio, how do you maintain the balance in between different teams, products, and trade-offs without digressing from roadmap? Right now, a very simple answer to this question is that eventually we as a company are going to build a platform layer where it is a common umbrella of products which happens. We are trying to build integration systems in together so that a fundamental user can come on the platform and in 6th grade and eventually leave with a great job or with a great learning experience, right? Learning is all about becoming fundamentally better. Learning, whenever you learn something with fun, you enjoy it, right? So that is something that you essentially have to understand. So the point that I'm trying to put across is that Byju's in general has make vertical level teams, but eventually they're going to build a platform layer which coexists very seamlessly, and that's an effort that's going on. I am not at liberty to speak more about it, but in general it is to do 2 things. One, make education enjoyable, so to build vertical niche in every product, and second part, that basically build a common platform layer so that people don't think they are independent products. It's like a common platform where you come at a particular grade and then you leave out with whatever expectation you have. Right. Got it. Okay. So Jayavardhan Singh has asked, "Hi Shravan, I am a UX designer with 5 years of work experience. 5 years of work experience. I am mostly into research and development. Can I switch my career to product manager and how can I do it?" Again, the answer to this question is yes. Anybody can transition in becoming a product manager, and I have spoken about this a zillion times. Right? Please refer to an original video, Jayavardhan, that intro to product management or how to become a product manager from scratch. Those are like long sessions, but it will clarify most of your doubts. Right? Anybody can become a PM. I'm repeating this again. Anybody from any background, from any situation can become a product manager if you are willing to put the right kind of effort. Awesome. Okay. Okay. So Meenakshi has asked this question. You mentioned product layer and service layer in your last video. I am not clear with the concept. Can you elaborate? Please elaborate on that. Okay. So I think let me put it this way. Product layer basically means the actual product, right? And service layer means basically after using the product, what service do you get? Like for Google Pay, the product layer is you enter into the product, you open, you want to send it across, you send that, basically you want to send across money to somebody, like Meenakshi wants to send it to Shravan, right? She will open she will click on Shravan's number, she will put the UPI ID or his phone number, and after putting the phone number she will mention that basically I want to send him 100 rupees, and then put her ID, then OTP or whatever she wants to put across, and the money is sent, right? So this entire experience is called the product layer. But what is the service? The transaction happened, right? You sent money to me, right? That's the service layer. So the products which are very good at the product layer, like this, why do you think credit is so much investing his heart and soul in building a very good UX? Why do you think so? Right? The reason is because they want people to enjoy even the credit card payment process, so that people always think of, अरे credit में तो मजे से हो जाएगा यार, right? I don't have to go to the app and figure out and do payments and etc. So if your product layer itself is enterprising, it's like a toy, right? That the experience on the app, now the service is something that you derive value from, like from Duolingo it's language, from Swiggy it's food, right? So if the product layer is fundamentally very good, very amazing, and the joy of usage in the product layer is very high, right? In that scenario, your users are addicted to that experience, right? More than the service. And if both the things are really good, you have a stellar product, right? Apple doesn't not only just give you a great, what I want to tell you, just a great hardware experience or a software experience. Apple is also giving you a great service experience, right? In terms of Apple Pay or Apple TV or Apple Music or whatever you want to call it, right? So that is something. I hope that answers the question, Meenakshi. Yeah. Okay. Hey Vishal, glad to see you here, man. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So Shantanu, you can reach out to Tanuj, please definitely help him out. Yeah. Yeah. भैया बिना एमबीए प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर में करियर बनाने में क्या मुश्किल आ सकती है यार? सो बेसिकली हर्षित इज आस्किंग, भैया बिना मुश्किल के, हाँ, बिना मुश्किल के ओ कि if I'm not a PM, if I'm not a MBA, what मुश्किल यार? कोई मुश्किल नहीं आएगी if you're truly मतलब putting it, मतलब honestly speaking, if you have that skill set of building great relationships in teams, listening to other people, giving them respect, not really, it's not going to add बहुत सारी दिक्कत. हाँ, पीपीटी बनाने में दिक्कत आ सकती है, वो मुझे भी आती है, honestly speaking, being very honest from the bottom of my head, पीपीटी दिक्कत आ सकती है, there's nothing else will happen. Yeah. So Gish is asking, I am a technical PM. I am a technical project manager. My background is MBA in SCM and BE. I have never held a PM profile, but work a lot on product analytics. How do you convince the interviewer? Now, Girish, again, this question is answered in the previous lectures also. I again recommend it's just about problem solving, how many things do you solve across, and eventually do a lot of mock interviews. Try to understand that what exactly are you speaking, where are the mistakes that you're making. So I would definitely recommend go through the previous videos. Your answers will be there already, right? Okay. Ebony Johnson. Yeah. So leadership at my company has promised major features to customers. So we have to deliver at point. I am a newer PM. This week I have to plan questions and try mapping out a roadmap and release plan. Okay. So Ebony, what I would recommend doing starting from this is that first of all try to understand that why those features are promised, right? What are the things that a customer truly wants, right? Fundamentally, that try to understand it, that what is the feedback that you've received. You must have received some amount of feedback that basically this is the most important thing that has to put across, this is the most important, and get that structure around with you, right? And then try to prioritize it based on impact versus satisfaction. A very simple thing, right? If you feel that it's a very impactful feature where everybody is talking about and the customer is really talking about, right? What are the, you have to prioritize based on that, right? That basically where functionally what kind of feedback that you have received from the particular customer, from some sort of feedback, and try to prioritize it. Where is the most amount of feedback that's given, that what is the most critical thing. The only thing that you can functionally go is don't go just to your management and say what is important. And there are multiple other ways to effectively look at the roadmap also. There are, like, you can start looking at a roadmap from a value impact versus satisfaction structure. You can look at from a ROI structure. There are n number of ways. There are a lot of resources on how do you build a roadmap. But the fundamental learning that I will talk about very simply to you is try to look at the need quotient and define value of a feature in terms of impact. That from a need proposition, if you feel that a feature is consistently getting talked about, consistently talked about with in terms of customer, in terms of positive feedback, in terms of negative feedback, whatever the things, in terms of, like, if the feature is not there, then probably some salesperson would have effectively talked about it, or probably the client would have been talking about it, why he needs it, right? He or she needs it, right? So just prioritize it based on impact and put it across in that feature list. Then once you prioritize this it basis on impact, then you functionally take this roadmap to the tech team, and try to understand that based on their effort estimation, that how much time it will take. Then do that impact versus ROI analysis, that if something is there which is taking 2 months to deliver, but if there is another thing which is of lesser impact, slightly lesser impact, but only taking 2 weeks to deliver, you prioritize the 2 weeks one before, because less effort, more agility, right? So first optimize for impact, then optimize for effort, and then try to make a matrix around it, and then prioritize the entire roadmap. But there are templates also which are available on the internet, so you will be easily be able to find it across. Yeah, awesome. I think Abhini, that helps. Yeah. Okay, so one more help, but yes, sometimes during interview will ask you a product to design a product wherein we already have great products with great product market fit. For example, design a social media app. Yeah, yeah. सर शार्क टैंक कैसा लगा, व्हाट आर योर व्यूज ऑन इट? ठीक है यार, मतलब लॉन्ग स्टोरी, बट अभी रहने देते हैं, ठीक है? Shravan, first time watching your AMA, experienced PMs here, so just want to know what challenges are you facing at Baiju, considering that you are at the top of it tech. So yeah, so Vishal, I think the fundamental challenge that we are trying to functionally figure out is come up with some sort of a model which is not just, like, I have always believed that the quality of education is inversely proportional, right, to the kind of personalized attention that you typically get. But as you move from lower grades to higher grades, your intent of personalized structures, or the personalized attention that you fundamentally need from a tutor, highly increases. That's why you see that people in 11th and 12th grade in India, they move to Kota and spend like $10,000, $12,000, right? Now replicating that in an online service is very hard, right? So it's like building education for Zoom. So how do you effectively try to drive in any product, in any edtech company in general, at a platform level, student to student interaction, student to tutor interaction? Because one of the things that we functionally feel that are driven towards outcomes, and India is a very outcome centric, and China is also similarly a very outcome centric market, right? That how do you give personalized attention and still be able to scale the model, right? That's why you must have seen a lot of companies they could never scale a 1-to-1 model or 1-to-20 model. It's very hard to do that, right? And most of the companies typically try to come up with some sort of a Zoom structure, right? That a 1-to-100 model, because India lacks two fundamental things: teacher depth, right? That you will not get. You might get teachers in STEM, which is engineering and mathematics, but you would not be able to get great teachers in SST, science, which is like the major segment in India, the K-12 segment, which is fourth grade to like 11th grade, 11th or 12th grade, right? The second thing is, it is hard to get great teachers at a scale of like 50 students, right? So you typically try to do some models which have been shaping the way China has done it. Like China is very popular with its two teacher model, in which a major teacher is coming on top of it and is teaching across, and then there are small teaching assistants who are effectively teaching you across in groups of 50. It is to ensure the two fundamental pillars, that your personalized attentions, not in class but pre-class, post-class, after the class stays, and you always have somebody to reach out to, and in which you can fundamentally ask questions, and that disconnect is not there. And also you're getting taught by the best teacher. I'm not saying that's the best model, but the intent here is that how do you scale with quality, and that has been a big challenge because it's very cost prohibitive. It is very, very difficult to build such kind of a model. And the third thing is, the expectations in this particular segment change rapidly. It's not like a common center that everybody wants to use Paytm for a particular purpose. There can be less purposes, but in education, that the purposes can drastically differ, right? A student in 6th grade will have a very different kind of a motivation than a student in 8th grade, right? And that transition is very, very steep. So in that scenario, you functionally try to, what you fundamentally try to do, how do you design layers at a grade level? That is also very difficult for us to do, right? So edtech has not. That's the reason you see the completion rates of most courses which are not live are like very poor. It's like 30%, 35%. And you have to effectively build a very operationally heavy model. Whether you look at any edtech company in India, it is not completely product led, that the product is driving more. And if you look at edtech as a business across the globe, right, it is how it is, right? So how do you functionally try to build such a product which gives you all the three levers in place? Great quality education, second, personalized attention between like the different stakeholders in the class, which is student teacher, student content, and the third part, that how do you ensure instant doubt resolution? These are the core three pillars on which we are trying to build products at a system layer. Yeah, Vishal, I hope I answered you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, Bhaiya, you said today, Vaibhav is saying, Bhaiya, you said today that we should not help user in interview, but how about moderated usability study as we help the user? Absolutely, you can do. So, Vaibhav, both the behaviors, whether it's a moderated structure or an unmoderated structure, it has to be open-ended. Yes, in a moderated study, you can do that, but I generally prefer unmoderated, unfiltered study if you take the right TG. But what you're functionally saying is absolutely right. In a moderated study, you can, that's why I said ask open-ended questions. If you ask very open-ended questions, that why did you take this step, I see that you've clicked on this button, why did you do that, that is far more relevant than in comparison to something like, I see that you clicked on the buy now button, did you want to buy something, right? Awesome. Mom's Test is a good book, Sharmishta. Yes. Okay. Somesh, how to figure out the impact if we have to find some things. Hello, Shravan, I'm new to PM space. Any books, frameworks you suggest that I go through? So, Archana Tatavarti has asked that basically, I am new to product management. Any books, frameworks you suggest? So, I think there are three things that I would definitely recommend. One is a very good book called Decode and Conquer, which is the initial point of product management. If you want to typically develop great skill set, there is also a book called the Lean Product Playbook by Dan Olson, which is also a very good book. But if you fundamentally want to develop how do you evolve as a good thinker, there is a book called Super Thinking, and there is also another book called Thinking in Systems. So you can typically look at those things and you can start across from there. Frameworks, not a fan of frameworks, honestly speaking, right? I've always been a fundamental thinker. I've tried to be a fundamental thinker, at least. That's how I typically put it. Yeah, awesome. Okay. I'm a developer in a startup with 3 years of experience and want to. What should be my next steps? Anushka Singh has asked. Anushka, the question has been multiple times answered. Please go through the channel, subscribe to the channel, and fundamentally you will get your answers over there. I have talked about from anywhere, and like how to be. There is a lecture called How to Be a PM from Scratch, and you can effectively join that, right? Okay. Juhi. The product manager at most places has become diluted. Yes, okay. Juhi Sharma has asked, the product manager at most places has become very diluted. I don't understand what that means, but if that means that everybody wants to be a PM, that's for sure. Yeah. So, superstar, what are the most excellent reading materials for experienced PMs? Right. So, I fundamentally think there's this very interesting book which I have been highly influenced by this book called Thinking in Systems. Right. So that's a very nice book for to build system layer products. I'm a fan of systems thinkers, right, who can build, because what is the difference between user thinking and systems thinking? Systems thinking basically means how do you build a systems which innovates with time, which eventually scales with time. So there's a very good book called Systems Thinking in Systems. Do give it a read. And Super Thinking is also a very good book, right? How would you drive product vision and strategy in a large org where there's a huge product org and needs alignment with org on specific OKRs? Parikishtha G has asked, how would you drive product vision and strategy in a large org where there is a huge product org and needs alignment with specific OKRs? I think it has to be trickled down from the top, right? So it is you have to fundamentally understand that at any point of time that the core baseline metrics of a business should remain profitable and structured, and then you trickle it down to different, like Baiju is a large org, right? But what is our core metric as a business? Threefold, right? To drive more user acquisition, to drive more revenue, to drive better NPS, right? So these three metrics then trickle down into different areas. Like on a social app, there will be some other leading metrics which will be important. On a different app, on a classes app, it will be more about attendance. So it has to come from the core product vision, and then it has to trickle down, right? So that is, and ideally your leadership team should help you do it, structure it that way. Yeah. Ajinkya, yes, importance of system design is important, right? To some extent, but not that critical, right? Right. Okay. Okay. So I'll take two more questions, guys. I think that is where I'll take two more questions. I think most of the questions are अच्छा growth PM. Also, Juhi was basically asking कि यार इतने सारे roles हैं क्या है? So यार देखो इतना मत सोचो. The only thing that you have to fundamentally understand that there is a product management role. Growth PM is just that it's shifted towards a particular structure. Performance PM basically takes care of system level metrics. Service PM can be something else, etc. Whatever and whatnot. The point that I'm trying to make is that core skill sets are same, only their experience. Like growth PM will be focused a little more on revenue. Performance PM will be focused a lot more on technical structures, all of those things. But at the fundamental level, every PM has to be user centric. So I'll give you a simple example. A company like Netflix doesn't really care what kind of PM you are. Even if you're a technical PM, you has to be user centric. So if you fundamentally try to become user centric at the core of it, you can become any type of a PM. And in the next lecture, I will spend like 5 minutes on different types of PMs for sure. Okay. Okay. So Rajat, I'll take one more question, guys. I think we are at the end of an hour, right? So I'll just take one. My startup makes subscription-based models in e-commerce stores so that the end users. So my startups make subscription-based products in e-commerce store. Rajat has asked, so that the end users can rent products. Not able to understand Shopify payment gateways and APIs. Any resources you can suggest as a PM? I will come back to this on this, Rajat. You can ping me. I will come back to this. Okay. See, Neha. So Neha, I asked, is there a difference between B2B and B2C product management? Fundamental difference? Nothing. Working difference, yes, there is, right? That B2C PMs are far more comfortable with data. Their experiments are more agile, more design centric features they build. B2B PMs are more system layer, platform layers. You don't have to just think of one feature. You have to think from a value proposition, from a business standpoint. So I think at a fundamental first principle level, absolutely no difference. But from the working style, yes, there is a difference for sure, right? Awesome. Cool, guys. I think we will end the session. We are almost towards the completion of an hour, right? So what I would want you to do is please like the video. We are almost about to hit 10k subscribers. Please share karo, please post dalo as much as possible. Write on LinkedIn. Writing is going to help you guys only. Thank you very much for coming here. और मैं हर सेशन में please share the channel with as much as your friends. Okay. Rajendra का question मैं answer कर लेता हूँ. Okay. Hey Shravan, I'm currently pursuing an MBA HR from a reputed college. I have a past digital marketing, but how do I proceed with a decent? Again, Rajendra, the answer is given in the previous videos. If your question is entry level, there's enough content on the channel for you to structure it across, right? The best structure is to make a portfolio. That is how you get an internship. But how do you do that? It's already present on the lecture. So please, एक बार ना, before you join the session, please go through the other videos also. There is enough content for people. Last year, people have gotten more than 100 plus offers. They are 150 plus offers, right? So I am just saying, if there is something that is working clearly for other people, so just put a little effort, you will figure out. Yeah. Okay. Please, for God's sake, I want you to share as much as possible, and simultaneously I want you to please subscribe to the channel, like the video as much as possible. Thank you very much for taking out the time. Lots of love. We will catch up next week again. Till then, have a great Sunday, guys. Bye bye.